I'm going to call to order a meeting of the Board of Selectmen for January 23rd, 2017. First on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to get some help from Kylie tonight. She's going to come up and lead the Pledge of Allegiance for us. So Kylie, come right up here. The flag is right there.
We'll all help.
And you can start.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, kid.
Thank you, Kylie.
Just asked 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, she jumped right in. No fear there. That's great. Okay, so first on the agenda is approval of the minutes from January 9th, 2017 open session. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the minutes from January 9th, 2017, open session minutes as written.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, next we have under communications and announcements, we have the distinct pleasure of swearing in a new firefighter tonight, Kyle Kabrski. Chief, would you like to say a few words?
Tonight is an honor to have the honor to swear in Kyle Kabrski after his one-year probationary period. Kyle began with the North Andover Fire Department on January 19th, 2016. Kyle is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and he's received several medals and commendations while he was with the Marines. He graduated from the Massachusetts Firefighter Academy on May 20th, 2016, and he was above average in all his testing at the Fire Academy, so he did quite well there. Lieutenant Hebert is currently his lieutenant. Kyle is stationed at Station 2 on Unit 2. Lieutenant Hebert conducted his final, what am I looking for? His final evaluation. And I just wanted to point out what Lieutenant Hebert had to say about Kyle. Kyle is a good worker and an asset to this department. He has made great strides in his first year. He comes to work with great attitude and shows confidence in his skill. He tries hard and listens and cares about his performance. Kyle truly loves this job. He comes from a firefighter family. His grandfather is here tonight, Paul Golia. He's a retired chief of Peabody Fire, and Kyle's dad is a 28-year firefighter with Danvers Fire. And you know, a lot of people would love to be a firefighter. They love this job. I know Kyle comes to work every day. He loves this job. He's been an asset to us, and I can't tell you, I really haven't met a more polite young person as much as him. It's just his manners and his mannerism is something that a lot of people should just take notice of. So it's a pleasure having him. We're going to talk a little bit about his badge that he's going to receive here tonight. Kyle will be receiving badge number 6. Badge 6 is issued to permanent firefighter Kyle Kabrski, having successfully completed your probationary year on January 19, 2017. The history of the badge: James P. Dawes Sr. was the first firefighter to have worn badge 6 from 1950 to 1956 when he became the fire chief. He served as fire chief from 1956 to 1978. Edward R. Snell was the next to wear badge 6 from 1961 to 1970 when he was promoted to lieutenant. Lieutenant Snell served until 1987 when he retired. James Swarbrick wore badge 6 from 1970 until 1976 when he transferred to the Lawrence Fire Department. Steve P. Long wore badge 6 in 1976 when he changed to badge 33 on request in order to give that to James P. Daw Jr., the fire chief's son, was the next firefighter to wear badge 6, known as Depp to all of us. He wore badge 6 from 1976 to 2013 when he retired. We trust that you, Kyle, will wear badge 6 with pride and honor, with the knowledge that those who came before you have worked to make this job better for you, and that you will be entrusted to remember those who will come before you as you prepare the way to those who will come after you. So Kyle is going to have his grandfather, actually, we're going to do the swearing in first, right? Okay, so Joyce is going to do that.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Would mind raising your right hand and repeat after me?
I,
State your name.
Kyle Kabursky,
Solemnly promise
solemnly promise
and affirm
and affirm
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
sincerely,
sincerely,
and impartially
and impartially
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
that are incumbent
that are incumbent
upon me
upon me
as a firefighter
as a firefighter
for the town of North
for the
Andover.
town of North Andover.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Right here for me. Right there's perimeter. Congratulations.
Thank you. Kyle's grandfather?
Yeah, go right up into the front.
Open on sticker, yeah.
We do, we have a few empties in the room.
Wheeling me around.
Well, we'll give an opportunity if you want to say a few words. If not, you don't have to. You good to go?
Come on, speech.
I'm not good at this.
Yeah. Again, thank you. We'll see you in October. There'll be one more firefighter, going through a year in October. So it's been quite the year. A lot of new faces, all great people, and you see the crowd here tonight for you, so they do respect you and care for you. So congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I just want to say one thing. I want to thank you and the men who were at the memorial ceremony yesterday. What a tremendous honor it was to see you guys provide the honor guard for a fallen Marine captain, George Whitney, who died recently in Afghanistan. And Chief McCarthy and many of the men that were here tonight were there yesterday and provided an honor guard with a flag hanging on the ladder truck. How big was that flag?
It was from the academy. It's the flag that they use at the academy. The funeral home had requested to see if we could supply a ladder for the ceremony, and we actually had ours out of service with maintenance. So the fire academy was able to provide one for us.
Great collaboration.
Right, and but I just want to say that on Thursday evening, we will be having the firefighter Exchange Club Firefighter of the Year Award, and this year for North Andover, it's firefighter Matt Davis, and it's for all Matt's work that he does behind the scenes, the 9/11 ceremony, the Toys for Tots, the work that he does in the schools, the honor guard. And yesterday, on Friday, I put Matt on the spot to see if he could put that color guard together for that ceremony, for that family that was going to be driving through there. And within minutes, Matt called me back, and he was able to put that color guard together. So again, it's not just Matt, but he leads this group, and it's just another example of him going beyond his normal duties at the fire department. So he's going to be awarded the Exchange Club Firefighter of the Year Award Thursday night, representing North Andover. So,
Great choice. Thank you.
all right, well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Congratulations, be safe.
That's it, Kyle.
All of you, but I was talking to you.
I
think he went to Brooks. I don't know. Did that kid go to Brooks?
The soldier.
The soldier that died? I saw Francisco Urena had a thing. He was there, too. Dickie, did that fallen soldier go to Brooks? Yeah, I thought so.
Well, that certainly cleared the room out. All right, well, next on the agenda, communications and announcements. We are having an update from our tremendous IT director, Chris McClure. Chris, come on up.
Short is good.
Take as long as you need. We're going to be here all, we have all night.
A long walk from the back of the room.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come and present.
Mr. Chairman, just as a sort of entree into the discussion, it has been some time since Chris has been here. There's a number of things that Chris and obviously the staff, in great cooperation, have. Chris has sort of led the way. The staff has been great in sort of being amenable to a number of changes, and so we've significantly, in addition to a lot of progress I think we've made in the last 5 years, certainly notable in the last 18 months, we've made some significant changes, and it's had a real positive impact not only on our work performance, but our ability to communicate with the public. Chris has been at the center of that, thinking of ideas to again, make us more efficient and be better in terms of our service delivery. So it made perfect sense for Chris to update some of the things that have taken place over the last, say, 12 to 18 months, and then identify some of the things we're working on moving forward.
Okay. So again, I'm Chris McClure, the IT director. I think it's easy for IT to sit in the background a lot of times. It's traditionally a support department, and I think we do a great job supporting the various town departments and boards and committees. We've made a good effort this last year plus, I've been here almost 2 years in April, to become more of a service department, with our customers being the residents of North Andover, the town employees, boards and committees, et cetera. But we're also aware that it's a very busy world that people live in. There's a lot of competition for attention, and we're trying, I think, to take a modern tech model of rolling out small, easily digestible pieces of technology that offer real service and convenience to people. So along that vein, we will also be launching a series a couple times a month with NCAM, sort of like a life hack. Did you know what's possible with the website, different tech services and things that are offered in town, just to keep that in the forefront of people's mind. And we're going to try and keep it short and sweet, 5 minutes, a couple times a month, and just to remind people some of the services that they can take advantage of. And then, so Brian Fraser and I will be working on that, and thanks to NCAM for their continued support. I want to point out, as Andrew said, a few things that are available to people that people may or may not be aware of, and some new developments that we certainly want to bring people's attention to. And I think also show a little bit behind the scenes where how we've changed the way we've collected some of that information and data and feedback from the public to actually make decisions and gather information and link departments together versus some of the silo effects that it's easy to have with data. So again, I'll remind people, we have this Report It tool. And one of the most convenient ways to use the Report It tool is to make sure that you get the Town of North Andover's app on your smartphone. So you can get that for Android, iPhone. You can load it on the web if you don't have an Android or an iPhone, but it works best for those. And we've seen some pretty good feedback from people over the past year in terms of reporting things. We certainly encourage people to report more. And I wanted just to show briefly what happens with that data on the back end. So we're actually able to take that data that comes in. And so, for example, if you wanted to see what we did for potholes last year, you can see all the pothole issues that we resolved. If you wanted to see all of the trash and recycling issues that we dealt with, we can see that. If you wanted to see the street light, actually the street light's reported separately, so that's not a good example. We have a few that we cache. If you wanted to see snow issues, And as we go year by year and we can start to see, this allows us to start drawing patterns and to see maybe which areas are most effective, et cetera, and allows us to draw some conclusions in terms of how to allocate resources, allows us to see how our response is. There's also accountability because the departments are able to monitor a dashboard of these coming in addition to live alerts. And ultimately, Andrew is able to see a dashboard of every open incident in town at any given time and see how we're doing in terms of closing these out. It also brings up another theme that we've been pushing this year, which is to create better common operating picture between departments so that there's not a silo. So if something's happening in one department, everyone's at least aware of it at a top level. And it's kind of a cool project. We did it with the town clerk this year to bring in the dog licensing to this type of system. So you can actually see, it'll take a second here because we have a lot. Let me turn off my other maps. It's always dangerous doing live demos on TV with the... Hold on. Yeah. My dogs are not cooperating right now, but...
Tremendous job getting those dogs all registered.
But we have a map where we can show all the dogs in town. But the cool thing is the police actually have access to that same data. So if there's questions about a lost dog or a tag, that information is now shared among departments where before... Hopefully my dog map loads before I leave, but I'll show it to you. So that's just some cool stuff that it's not just information one way. We're actually taking that information and able to work with it. So before I get to kind of our final piece that we worked on, I want to, again, remind people of some of the recent enhancements that we've made on the town website. I'll come back to my dog map in a minute. So a small change, but something that we've done recently is we strongly encourage people to follow us on our mini social media platforms. Most people are probably aware that you can sign up and receive email notifications. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Google+, and it's the same message that goes to all those platforms, so you're not going to miss out if you pick one or the other. But this year we've expanded, in addition to the handful of agendas that were being posted, we're actually posting every single meeting agenda through social media. So you can actually sign up, and if you really want to, you can get all agendas as an email. But in addition to Selectmen and Planning Board and School Committee and the big ones that we were always doing, every agenda that gets posted gets blasted out to email on social media now. So that's a huge increase in transparency. For the big boards, Planning Board, School Committee, Selectmen, even Finance Committee now, we're also linking the packet information. So in addition to just the agenda, you're able to access all the related documents for that board or committee, which makes things a little bit more transparent. And we're trying to put more and more information on the website. We're also posting bids and proposals and jobs and other things to the social media, so it's really a transparent process to keep people informed.
Interjection. We started a couple of years ago providing packets in a cloud-based service location, Dropbox for some of the selectmen to get the data that way. We no longer need to do that. If we simply just call up the agenda like any resident can right off the front of the website, we can open up that agenda. It shows this with the typical, but with links to certain material. So right from the agenda, right on the website, you click on that link, and all the supporting material that's in your packages, the residents can see. So without having to ask a copy, 5 years ago, we were printing these really thick copies if residents or others wanted packages. So even today, when I work off in these meetings, I'm not working off a cloud-based product. I'm actually going to our own website, getting on the agenda like every other resident can do, and clicking on the agenda item to get the detail, which is, far more transparent than we ever were.
So this final item, Andrew tasked me with coming up with a concept for a visual budget so that we can not just read the spreadsheets, but sort of see our budget in pictures and compare it from year to year. So this is kind of the beginning stages of that. But very simply, and this is linked off of the budget and financial page off the town website. It's a big pie chart. So we're offering a few different ways of interacting with the town's budget data. And one of the cool pieces, I think, is one of the built-in features to Google Sheets. And you don't need a Google account to take advantage of this. But we've sort of summarized the key aspects of the budget going back to fiscal year 2008. And if you highlight rows or columns and use the little Explore button in the lower right here, you can actually generate your own graphs and charts based on the information. So you can sort of play with that and generate different information from that piece. But you'll see here that we've got a summary of budgets over time. And if you hover over the different segments, you can actually get pop-outs to see, and you can see how the budget has evolved over the past few fiscal years, and you can sort of see the trends and highlight over that. So this is our revenue side. We have our expense side, and again, you can sort of hover over, it's interactive, the different aspects of the budget, and see the different summarized segments. You can also interact with individual fiscal years. So if you just wanted to see, say, fiscal year 2017, for example, you can come in and you can see the revenue and expenses for the major categories. And again, if you hover over the different slices of that pie, you'll be able to get additional information. And then the more interactive piece, which is kind of a cool piece, is the budget allocation calendar to see how your tax dollars are allocated through the different budget pieces. So I can select a fiscal year, and then that's going to tell me the total budget, the percentage spent on each of these categories, and a rounded total amount spent on the major buckets. But let's say my annual tax bill was $10,000 that year. It will actually tell me what percentage of my tax bill went towards each of those major services.
Wow, that's really.
And you can go year by year. If you enter your email address in the field here and hit submit at the bottom, it will actually send you a summarized report of that to your inbox so that you can, print it or save it or share it from that point. So this is really kind of the rudimentary beginnings of this. So we can do more, but we wanted to.
Federal government, do it.
That is awesome. Very
So,
impressive.
I promised Don I'd be short, so that.
So, Chris, a couple things. First
Sure.
of all, I really wish you were on that panel this past weekend at the Mass Municipal Association Conference. I attended an IT conference in two towns, one town, and Massachusetts IT was represented, but I think you would have been a tremendous asset on that panel, and I think we should keep tuned in to see if they have that same panel next year and get you on it, because I think you probably you do have a lot to offer other towns in some of the work that you've done.
Sure.
The second thing is, and we talked about earlier tonight, is security. I just, with so many people out there trying to steal data, hack data, and everything, I hope, everything you're doing, you've got a bubble of security around it that you're always considering and always making sure that our residents' data, our employees' data, all of our data is secure. And
Absolutely.
as as we put more and more out there on the internet, the more and more we open ourselves up to vulnerabilities. So we always need to stay one step ahead of the hackers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks.
I actually just gave him a card on that I picked up from the MMA conference. You probably already know how to do all that's in that, but
No.
you never know.
There's no such thing as too much security, so.
Right, that's what I thought.
And well, the thing is that they're always evolving. The hackers are always evolving every day, and it's always a catch up. It's always keeping pace.
That is, I'm just thrilled about that program. That's just amazing. Really, I hope that really takes off to all our other local, state, and federal government. It's unbelievable.
Well, I think it's a good demonstration that we're able to use existing tools to leverage this type of functionality. So it's not something that we purchase to do this. We leverage existing investments and existing tools, and it's sort of representative of other things that we could do similar to this using existing investments. So we've got some pretty strong capacity now, and we're really just looking to leverage it more. So
with you, I know that the Selectmen and others continue. In fact, I had a social media exchange with a resident about a sinking storm drain, and I referred the person to the reported system, and they said thank you, and it goes into the system. I think in December, if you look at December's report, we had 81 requests for service using the reported tool, so an annualized number close to 1,000 requests. We're averaging between 90 and 98% responses per month to get to people, which allows them the ability to see what we're doing. We're finding it's, from my perspective, a selfish sort of a management perspective, we map out these responses We get to see, one, first of all, are we responding, and two, where are most of the services calls coming from. It helps us in long-range planning, for instance, with potholes. If we find more potholes on one area of roadway, it tells us a little bit about the condition of the roadway. The dog data, which I think just Chris is battling a little bit of sort of internet here, but if you looked at the raw dog data, it provides some pretty interesting information. 3,000 data points on our map, telling us a general idea of where dogs are located throughout the community, and it sounds some maybe like trivial information, but we're doing that in any level of piece of information from.
Well, from my own personal experience,
We have a dog at my house, and one of the neighborhood children left the gate unlocked, and the dog got out, and pretty quick, I got a phone call saying, "You own a black and white Cocker Spaniel, don't you?" And I'm like, "Yep." And they told me that it was roaming the streets, and it was probably from some of this information, so.
Oh, yeah, well, I think we're focusing on allowing departments to have real-time access to information so they can make decisions. So a few months ago, when the dog licensing system was siloed, if the police came upon a dog tag, they'd have to wait until they could get in contact with the town clerk's office to look up that information. Now they can look it up in real time. They can share information if there's a dangerous dog or police are responding to an address. They can see which dogs, obviously it'll only capture registered dogs, so we encourage everyone to register their dog, but it's just that model and spirit of sharing data that we're trying to move into, so to empower people to make decisions. And on a closing note, I will point out one more tool that Andrew reminded me of. Trash and recycling calendars are always a very popular topic. And it was a little confusing this year with the weird Christmas and New Year's holidays falling on a Sunday.
A visit I made to Chris's office, which led to this change.
So if you go to our recycling page, you can pick your street, and I'll just pick one at random here, and it will tell you what your recycling day is. And then you can click and get a Google Calendar for that day, which you can subscribe. And if you don't use Google, no worries. You can right-click and get the iCal link and paste that into iCal or Outlook or any other iCal compatible. It's an Apple product that does Apple, but it's like subscribing to a calendar. So if you use Google, it's one button, but the nice thing is it'll come up on your phone every morning what your trash is, and we keep that updated with the holidays throughout the year for the different schedules. So again, another thing that was we're in the service business, so whatever can make your life easier.
Delay in service through the 2017 year. This calendar product recognizes that, updates your calendar with that delayed day. So your own calendar is telling you when trash is due.
And anytime you see any calendar on the website, those same functionalities exist. So the Finance Committee was interested in tracking Selectmen's meeting. You can subscribe to the meeting calendar, to any calendar, and have it appear in your personal calendar and track that. So it's just really designed to make accessing our information more convenient.
Some of the things that Chris didn't show, these are more internal stuff, is obviously we're pretty active intranet, a lot of data internally to employees. Employees now have their own portal for the benefit of modifying things associated with payroll, taking a look at their balances and accruals in payroll.
We can show that.
Changing
So this is what
withholdings within
employees
payroll.
see every day when they log into their computer.
So this is what employees see, right, first, the outward-facing page. So there's certain mapping within this, one of the tabs up above, that allows us to see certain information that the public wouldn't see in terms of certain data and how we're tracking it. And then also things like, as I mentioned, the employee portal. So being able to look into your payroll account and check, make certain changes associated with that. Phone directory, you can see as a tab, so our phone directory for all employees is there. So everything is now electronic, and the employees have access to information in a one-stop location that they otherwise wouldn't have.
And it's all living data, so you're not having the stale data.
Yeah, it's the comprehensive. It's a sliding scale. Depends on the person, right?
I will say North Andover has been overall very good at adapting, not resisting, and taking advantage. And I think one of the things, as I said at the Finance Committee, that I'm impressed with North Andover, it has deep organizational structures and good processes, and so that we're able to get that adoptance if that's a word, get people to adopt the technology deeper within the organization faster. It's local government, so there's always challenges in government and getting technology adopted. But I would say compared to other communities, we're doing pretty well.
That's great.
So another tab up top there is a facility form, so employees can report issues happening in their particular buildings, maintenance-related issues.
Really great.
It allows us to track it, so if an employee sees something they want to report it, it goes into the same kind of people forms, gets reported to Steve Foster so that he can prioritize those. Yep.
I saw
Yeah.
Steve Foster this weekend, actually.
It's like an internal version of the reported form. And that's actually being used by the town and school and the custodians and to track and have some accountability for issues. Yeah, so. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, okay, cool. See, it's that easy.
Get home tonight.
That's great.
Great.
Bravo.
By the way, we've started to roll out electronic permitting for building permits, plumbing permits, and electrical permits. And so that's sort of an ongoing process, but we've started on a pilot basis on plumbing and electrical first.
Yeah, well, we've been doing plumbing, electrical, and gas full-time online permitting for 8 months
8
now, I
months, yeah.
think, and that's been going very well. So we're about to bring building permitting online, and we're starting to look at some of the smaller permits like the business certificates and some other forms. So it's an online application process, has online workflow and accountability, and again, bringing those departments to work together.
Credit card, do we do that?
So right now, that's a credit card. The company that we're working with, Viewpoint, is the most popular permitting suite in Massachusetts currently, and they will be rolling out electronic checks within the next couple of weeks. It's a little more attractive option, especially for the big permits, because you don't have to pay the percentage points.
It is part of an inspection, then come in.
Yeah, you don't have to pay online. You can still pay by a check, and hopefully soon electronic check.
Yep.
Or you can drop it in the box.
You can drop it in the box. Popular box.
So, okay. Thank you. And as always, if anyone has any questions here or watching at home, feel free to email me or fill out a report it form, and we'll get back to you.
We'll respond.
Thank you.
I'll be back next year.
Okay, other communications announcements?
I had sent an email off to the board that we had a report of a trash truck with our contractor, but servicing another community, had delivered solid waste to our recycling provider.
Yeah.
It's the second time in 6 months. If you remember the first time that it occurred, the recycling provider who is given us a rebate, next it's $20 a ton rebate, had indicated they wouldn't, that it was a violation of our agreement and they may cut that back. We're able to sort of negotiate through that a little bit. And so the second occurrence of this, which was the town of Exeter, New Hampshire's trash ending up at our recycling facility, there's a cost associated with that. We'll subtract that cost from the solid waste bill. I have notified the town of Exeter, New Hampshire, to make them aware that it's the second time. They were not aware it happened the first or second time, so they're not sort of party to whatever reason, however the truck ends up in our recycling facility. But I've made aware that today. They were concerned about that, obviously. And so we'll navigate through that. The contractor, again, has indicated that by bringing trash to a recycling facility, we've in essence violated our recycling agreement, and that we're going to end up having another conversation about whether or not they're willing to continue the rebate at the same dollar value, given the fact that they're bearing a cost of having to separate the trash from their recycling material. So
So for people at home, it's because the town of Exeter, New Hampshire keeps their trash in bright blue bags that say Town of Exeter, New Hampshire. If they're
Yes.
wondering why or how they were able to tell whose trash is who, so.
Well, don't they stop the truck? I don't understand. Like, can't they say stop?
No, I don't No,
understand.
but because you have to realize that we are the only community that, so JRM Greenworks operates a facility, a recycling facility. Every other community that puts recycling at JRM Greenworks is a JRM trash hauling community.
Except for us.
Except for us. So they see the
Oh, I
truck.
see, I see,
They
I
don't
see.
know the truck has trash in it. It says north side is allowed because we are allowed to dump there. They don't do a pre-inspection because they just wouldn't normally do that on any truck. And then the truck empties its load, and instead of being recycling, it is
Aren't there
trash.
separate piles?
No, because
for trash and-
this is a high-tech recycling
Oh, right,
facility
right,
that takes
right,
the
right.
material and by conveyor belt source
does it
it.
itself.
And in this case, what they're basically saying is, we don't want to have to go do trucks should show up, should be your
What's our
material.
recourse on, I mean, like,
Yeah, that one's a complicated, so obviously there'll be a bill from from JRM for segregating the material back out, a cost associated with that, and then having to dump that material. We will offset that cost against the JRM trash contract.
no, I'm talking about, no. Why
So
can't we
based
send
on
a
last-
bill to them?
Based on last week's meeting,
That's
but
that's
so
exactly
J-
what I just said.
JRM
We'll send the bill from JRM to Northside.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, my apologies.
But we're also impacting future, we're impacting our future ability to generate, I'm sorry. We're going to get a bill from JRM,
Now we get it.
and we're going to send that bill to Northside. And then there will be also, that JRM has also indicated that we have for a second time violated our agreement with them and are balking at whether or not they would continue the rebate at the same level, because we are the only community in Essex County that even gets a rebate. And so the cost and aggravation associated with that means that we'll have to talk through making sure we continue to get the rebate from Greenworks.
So though we continue to work through TBI, and our recycling vendor is a third party that works through TBI, we are the ones that negotiated our community. The town of North Andover negotiated the spot with JRM to where that third
Greenworks.
party
Yes.
actually disposes of the recycling.
Yes, we need some place to dispose of recycling. There was a local facility, that facility closed.
Yeah, to rotate.
We went out to bid. We selected a second company. It's the closest company. The others were further south into Suffolk County. This is in Peabody, right on the other side of 114. And in addition to being the closest facility other than that, they also offered us the most favorable rate. I think they gave us a 20-year, $20 per ton rebate. There was no community actually getting a rebate for recycling. So it was a very favorable deal to the town, so it made logical sense. We're just concerned, we're getting some feedback on how a trash truck from Exeter, New Hampshire ends up in a Peabody recycling facility. But as I
It was all in
understand
it,
it.
that's how it
Yeah,
happened.
As I understand it, the truck ends up leaving Exeter and coming back here, parks here, and then drivers sometimes get confused about which truck they should be taking to go dump the recycling. And they should need to, if they dump the recycling at the end of the day, this wouldn't be a problem. But by bringing the trucks back into their yard, some
When
trucks.
is this pain and suffering over again?
But the
I'll
recycling,
be
but that's not with the
recommending
recycling
a
though.
trash vendor at the next meeting, but the recycling doesn't change. There's no, I've
Right.
spoken about that last meeting, we have no.
No, I know.
So at the end of our last meeting, we had talked about the town manager's office approaching TBI one more time and asking them, because again, they've not necessarily been responsive, right? I mean, you've repeatedly said that you've reached out to them and they're not
Right.
always responsive. After our last meeting, did that improve?
Well, we haven't
No.
had that conversation, but it
So-
hasn't.
Well,
Why can't
we had
we
talked
start
about-
like
just haven't
seriously
had a conversation.
bad-mouthing them publicly and asking for?
We are on camera right
I know
now.
we are on camera right now, but I mean, like publicizing.
As
it
opposed to
in a-
where?
in a-
What
in
venue?
I don't know, in the papers, put it on cam, I don't know. I just feel my neighbor's pain in the town of North Andover with this, and I want recourse for them. Yeah, it's not liable if it's true.
It's all over in June.
It's not liable if it's true.
Excuse me?
It's
So-
all over in June.
What's all over in June?
Trash.
The trash, but not the
Not the
recycling is the
recycling,
problem.
which is the bigger problem.
Recycling is just there forever free.
But
They're
you're
forever
missing.
free
We're
if they
talking.
actually pick it up and do what
So
they're
all
supposed
that means
See
is
the
that
contract?
they're not picking up trash, so if there's trash
I-
dumped at a recycling facility, it's not ours.
What date is it?
But so what Tracy, what Selectman Watson is saying, and I think it's a
Which isn't
frustration
any
that we've,
better.
we've talked about, is that though the recycling is forever, that's precisely the problem though, is that this particular company giving us free recycling isn't actually living up to the expectation our residents have, that their recycling will get picked up on the day.
But since the original agreement, things have changed. And changing contractors does make a change. Not that it's right, but.
What's changed? That they do lousy
No, he
business?
has to be transported to another town. That's what just changed, but that should end up being all taken care of once.
Yeah, but that could be
trash
said
is out.
for anything. As an example, Exeter's trash does not get dumped in Exeter.
No, what's probably happened, the
That should
truck
get
was
dumped in
dropped
Peabody.
off of the yard, and
You're right.
and one of the high-brained people took it and took the wrong truck. That's what happened.
I think
But,
it's all
but this
about
problem is
excuse.
completely different than what we discussed last week. This is just
Yes.
yet another, in every way, a different problem. It's that they've jeopardized a relationship now with one of our vendors that generate revenue for the town.
Well,
Whereas-
JRM's not gonna complain, they want the trash contract, they're gonna just throwing smoke at
But
you.
JRM has.
I'm not
has
throwing smoke
complained.
at you.
No,
They've already-
JRM is throwing smoke, because he don't care.
Well, it's not, I can tell you last time as a result,
Yeah.
because we violated the contract, they had an option to get out of the contract and bring it to zero. I negotiated it back to $10 and agreed to do that for 6 months, for the period of then bringing it back to the 20, which they agreed to. And in the same month, they're supposed to go from the 10 to the 20, Northside does it again.
Wait, Andrew, I don't know if I must have.
It
Can we
couldn't have
stop?
been a worse timing.
I missed. I remember the emails. I remember the pictures from June. So in June, the rate dropped from 20 to 10.
For a period of 6 months.
And so what was the recourse for TBI? I mean, did they pick up
No,
the tab for
we
that?
don't have any, what obligation we have, what am I billing?
So there
you?
wasn't. So
There is no
their-
recourse.
So
I have a
their
contract for
error
trash.
their error has already cost this town
They already
Money.
picked, they already
shoddy
picked the tab
service
once.
and inadequate and loss of revenue. So right now that's
They
money.
picked the tab up once already, they've been charged.
Oh.
They didn't pick the tab up because there's
Pick
two
up
different
any
tabs.
tabs.
There's a
But we've been
tab
paying a
asso-
tab every day for the past.
There's a tab
6 months.
associated with the cost that they incurred. And then there's a tab associated with getting less back in our recycling contract. They don't pay that bill. We pay that bill by getting less back.
What I'm trying to say, if you look at the big picture, okay, what are they gonna do? They want the trash contract for this town, so they're not gonna push that hard, trust me.
So, but
Well, it doesn't
how,
make it
but I
right.
don't understand why
No, it
the,
doesn't make it right.
Thing. I mean,
No,
just
no,
because
it doesn't
we
make it
can't
right.
dump trash on them because
No.
they want the contract.
twisting the
They-
conversation
they
to
got
what's
back.
about JRM's position is not the point. It's not about JRM. It's about Northside.
Yeah.
Because JRM wouldn't even have communicated with me over this weekend.
No.
If it wasn't for the fact that Exeter's trash is being,
Again.
was, I still don't understand. Most trash haulers I've experienced for 25 years pick up their load, trash and recycling, during a day, and they immediately deliver it to where it's going. They don't come back to a yard and leave the truck full sitting there. I mean, I don't even understand why that's happening. I'm confused. If the truck finishes in Exeter, then it goes wherever it goes to haul the stuff. It empties its load, so the next day, and I'm not
Ready to go.
defending Exeter, then they're ready to go. In our case, when we're talking about deficiency on the recycling, we're talking about the fact that the complaint is that they now have to travel to Peabody, of which we're paying Northside mileage. And their complaint is, well, or the feedback is, and it's a little anecdotal, but they're indicating, well, by now having to go to Peabody, I can't finish the route. Well, which is it? Is the truck going back and sitting in the yard and going in the morning? Bless you. Or is the truck going to Peabody and therefore can't get back on the route? It's like, what they're doing for us seems the opposite of what they're doing with Exeter. That's what gets confusing. It shouldn't be confusing. You pick up the trash in Exeter, you dump it at the end of the day, you put the empty truck, then it wouldn't matter what set of keys you picked up.
That's right.
It wouldn't make any difference. Mark one, trash. The other one, recycling. I don't care,
Not brain surgery.
right? So the fact that we're now blaming a driver because he took the wrong keys of the truck,
Come on.
a $1 million arrangement seems,
Well, we're also responsible. I mean, they're responsible for their employees and their actions too. So they cost us. I mean, is there an actual hard number associated with? I mean, we lost. That means 50% of what we should have generated from JRM in the past 6 months. Is there a number associated with that?
yeah, it's not, it's $20 per ton we get, so at $10 a ton, I'd get you a number, yeah, sure. I can get you a
I
number.
mean, they've cost. The point is they cost us money,
Yes, they did.
and are now potentially costing us more. Actually, because there's no indication yet that. I mean, there could still be repercussions, right? That's part of what this conversation is. JRM could still say we're not going back up to 20, couldn't they?
Yeah,
Or JRM could terminate the contract.
And then we're really,
That's the way
I
it
mean,
goes.
it's certainly not gonna be my decision going forward, God knows, but there may come a time when this community has to take a hard look at whether this free recycling is actually free and/or worth it to the people who live in town. And that's gonna be a tough decision to make, because recycling, Isn't
It
cheap.
shouldn't be a tough decision. We need to weigh the cost of everything, right? We get a contract that is in the same ballpark as what we're paying now. And we're paying because we're giving them a benefit for what they're providing us. So, I mean, that's the conversation that has to be had is how does it balance?
yeah.
more to come.
All right, thank you.
There's always one with the track.
So I have another, so, are we also with that?
Yeah.
All right.
Until next meeting.
Until next week. So Chief McCarthy talked about the Exchange Club award dinner for the firefighters this week. Firefighter Matt Davis is getting the award. At that same awards banquet, they will also be awarding some of our police officers. So I just wanted to give equal time here. So on the Exchange Club awards dinner on the 26th of January, they're going to be giving Detective Michael Reardon, Detective Matt Zarico, Detective Officer Dan Quinlan, Officer Robert Hillner, Officer Jared Lawler, and Lieutenant Dan Lannon all the Exchange Club Award for Officers of the Year for their pursuit and apprehension of a drug suspect last month. So,
Yeah,
That was pretty hairy.
so
That's the one where somebody was
got
dragged.
right,
Yeah.
right. So that will be congratulations to them and thank you for a job well done. So they'll be getting the awards also
It's
this week.
amazing, no one really got hurt bad.
Okay, any other communications or announcements? All right, we'll move on to consent items. First on the agenda, Angel Flight New England is requesting approval to use the streets for the 2017 Ride for Angels charity event on Sunday, September 10th, 2017, from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. A great event for a great cause. Is there anybody here tonight to talk about this? Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Move that the Board of Selectmen approve the request of Angel Flight Northeast to hold the annual Ride for Angels charity cycling event on Sunday, September 10th, 2017, from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. is presented in our packets.
I'll second that. It's great. It's a great organization.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any further discussion, I should say? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All set on that one. Next, appointments to the Cultural Council. I will let one of the two members of the appointment subcommittee.
Mr. Chair, we have, and I'm just going for the last name because it's a little bit, I'm not sure that I'll pronounce it correct, but Mrs. Gomadon and Mr. and Mrs. Delano, very well qualified, both with different types of experience in the cultural field, but I think will be a great asset to that committee in determining what submittals get approved for funds from the, I don't know what I'm going to call it, the Cultural Council Fund. I don't know what else to say, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. 3 great people to go on there. Do we have a motion?
The
Oh,
Delanos
sorry.
actually are our poet laureates too. They're our first husband and
Right.
wife team. So,
Oh, right.
Yeah, yeah.
and Miss Gomadam and we felt bad because we
That was-
rushed a meeting and she was very
She was
polite.
terrific. Her resume spoke for itself
She was
before we
one
even
that
met her.
came here,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, she
She's
was
an
great.
Indian classical dance teacher. So, I mean, they definitely bring 2 very different perspectives, so we're lucky to have those volunteers. I don't
Okay.
want to take it away from somebody, actually, I won't say it. About our volunteers.
Oh, our volunteers, you're gonna miss this.
I know.
Because
No, he
this
felt-
community
usually
would
feels-
screech to a halt without the hundreds of volunteers. In truth, I mean, it's kind of become a thing between all of us, but in truth, when I say that, and I make light of it sometimes, but truly, without the hundreds of volunteers in this community, we really would screech to a halt. So I'm very grateful to the Delanos as well as Mrs. Gomadon.
Yeah,
Because I'm not going to try her first name either.
Yeah. Yeah, and our apologies to Mrs. Gomez
Yes.
for not trying, so, but, no, you're absolutely right. It's not just screech to a halt, it's also the tenor and the tone of the town. When you have so many people who are, stepping up and seem to do it with great pleasure, and it just, again, it's the tenor of the community.
We're a very, very blessed community.
So, I cut you off for making a motion, I apologize.
Oh,
We have the motion to move.
oh, okay.
Enough gushing.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
so we have a motion for the 3 appointments to the Cultural Council, and we have a second. Any further discussion?
Somebody
All
really
those in
should.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Excuse me? They're 3 different terms? Oh,
We were just clarifying. All right, licensing commissioners, we have, okay, no other consent items. License commissioners, we have nothing under licensing tonight. Old business, we are going to
color.
pick a color for the DPW building. Okay, do we have a palette of choices?
Mr. Sinkelly has a board
He wanted baby blue.
choices based upon the general direction that it should be reddish. And then also, if we can grab this, because it gives a good perspective, like, can you grab that other board? The original board, which was subject to a fair amount
Oh,
of
that
comments.
looks much better.
So
Thank you very much.
your job is to pick
I
something.
do have to admit, it does look much better. I'm sorry, but it does.
So you don't have a preference, do you?
Nope.
Negative.
Not the color of the one you have in your picture, right?
Negative.
If he
I
did,
think
he
we
wouldn't
had
tell
this
you.
discussion on Friday, right?
So, why is this
brick.
one covered with a little bit of bushes and more trees, though? So
Why,
like,
that's
see how
just-
it goes out this way, and that way goes out, and that's yellow
Forget
or
the bushes
gold.
and trees.
Yeah, forget
What's
the bushes and
what's
trees.
the back part going to look like?
Same thing.
Same color.
color. The
We're
back.
gonna redo the whole
the-
deal.
The front of the back part and the sides where all the
I do
bay
have to
doors
say the
are
red really
will be
does
covered
look
with the
better.
same material. The other two sides will be painted the same color you choose.
Whatever.
Can you bring it over here a little bit? It's like the left and the right are almost the same. I'm not a huge fan of the one in the middle.
deal on the model.
Good, can you do that? Can you do wave your finger hand across, wave your hand across the front, or something like that?
Tiara Sienna.
Have you, I like-
Let's see, the colors, first option is
That
reading
actually
upside
wouldn't
down
look bad,
Terra,
Sienna.
the Sienna. Second one is bright
Now
red,
that I'm
and the third
looking
one
at
is
this big
rustic,
one,
patina?
rustic patina.
I
No,
just
rust
want a big
patina.
garage.
Does that, so the patina one, when many are lined up together, like on the side of a building, does it look streaky?
Yeah, it is.
Again, I can't tell you.
No, it does. It has a wood,
Yes.
almost like a wood.
Sometimes that
grain
can
to it.
look good and sometimes it can be a poor imitation.
I forget how close this is to the front of the,
I don't know. I would go in for the
So
one
that
on
the
the
camera
left.
can catch it.
Now, the model that you have that's all painted, which paint choice did they make for that?
I think that is this first one.
I do like the color combination that they put with that left design.
Which one, which
That is
shade is that?
the Terra de Sienna.
Yeah, I would go with that one. Option A.
That's the same with me,
So the one on the left is what's out
yeah.
Motion, second, vote, please.
Okay, so just the other, okay, one more. The other colors that you have, are we supposed to choose those, or?
No, they're all gonna be the same. The trim and all is gonna be all the same, no matter which one. No, it's the standard.
so we're going rust.
Well, again, this,
It's brick.
no,
Clarify the conversation.
no, she's talking about the gray trims, the light trim and the dark trim.
Because you have
Those-
the other samples there, I was just
Right, no,
wondering.
these are the upper bands and the lower bands, and that's just gonna be the standard. The standard trim, the trim is going to be the same.
Like a gray on gray.
What do you think?
I motion
I-
that we go with the sienna.
The one on the left, whatever that,
The
option
That is the Terra
A,
de Sienna.
option A.
I'll pronounce it for you, Mr. DiColigiero.
It's taken me like 8 tries, but that's okay. No, I agree. I think I'd be curious, I'd be too concerned that the other side would look streaky. And
Is that a second?
yep, that's
Too
a second.
orangey. It
Okay,
almost
so
looks
we have a
orange.
motion and a second for option A. Do we have any further discussion?
Nope,
Sarah, yeah. Terra de Sienna.
I do like it in the red. I'd go gray
Mr.
on
Stewart,
gray.
what are
Lori,
your
will you be able
thoughts
to
on
take
this
that?
color?
You know what I mean?
As
I
a
know,
former
I
house
I'll be able to
painter
take
who
that
has
in
a
a
very
minute.
good eye for painting,
I'm more concerned about the color of the handicap accessibility than I am the color of the building.
That's
mean,
gonna be
they-
asphalt black.
I mean, the painting of the,
No, it's a joke.
You've got the dark.
I'm looking for accessibility for handicap.
Asphalt black.
I missed that one, but that's okay.
okay, so right now we're voting on the color, and I'm assuming that the handicap accessibility has been built into the design of the building. since
I don't
it-
know what he means, so I can't answer that.
Okay,
The building is gonna be fully handicapped accessible, yes.
Yeah, like this one here, right?
This is fully handicapped accessible.
Okay, let's not lose sight of our, currently the vote, the motion and the
It's the color of my
second.
jacket.
Okay, all those in favor of option A as the color?
I'm abstaining.
She wants
Okay.
gray.
All right.
That wasn't
All
a
right, so we've
choice.
got one abstention. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, 4
Thank you all.
to nothing with one abstention.
Thank you very much.
That way Tracy reserves the right to complain about whatever
That's
color it
right.
is. When she's a private resident again, she'll be standing up there.
I'm just gonna stand outside that building and go, look at this place.
Okay,
And then she'll say, and I told them to go
I
gray.
told him it should have been gray.
all right,
Plausible denied.
That's right.
moving
Wait
on.
out. We
Moving
really
on,
should
new
look at it in
business.
the sunlight, but
We have nothing under new business. Public comment. We have 2 members of the public here. Anybody care to have a comment? Sir, did you have something? Come on up, come on up. If you could just give your name and address, and then let us,
Good evening, my name is Herman Benson, I live at 2 Surrey Drive. I don't know what the process is for road improvements or things of that nature, but the intersection at Sutton, where China Blossom is, Sutton and 125, I don't know what the actual name of that road is. That intersection is quite, it's falling into disrepair. So when you're coming to a stop on Sutton towards the main traffic, it's really bumpy
Yeah.
and, you know, very uneven.
is it right,
So
right on the
125.
125?
Sorry?
No, it's on the side.
Going on 125.
When you're
on
heading,
Sutton.
take a left.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you're going towards
That's
125.
the state.
Right.
well, no, he's saying on Sutton Street, though.
On Sutton towards 125,
It's
Yeah,
actually
at
state
the-
road.
at the intersection.
Yeah, that's the state.
Does the apron of the road stretch out to the?
We're certainly aware of it, and you're absolutely right. It feels a little bit like you're going through a roadway test at the end.
Right, and as you're trying to decelerate, it actually inhibits that.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah, and I'll remind the state, we have, because that intersection actually encroaches into Chickering Road 125 is actually part of the state roadway. But we'll reiterate
Right.
that and see if they can reach.
So that was kind of part of my
Appreciate it.
question, I guess. I didn't know if this is the forum for
But
that
we'll do it.
discussion or not.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
It's like, all of a sudden they showed
No
up.
matter what, it's always the forum, so.
Oh, certainly.
And we appreciate you coming in, but if you were here just a little earlier, we have a system on the town's website where you can hit report it and put it
Right,
in.
I came
Monday
in right
night.
at the tail end of that.
Yeah,
I
okay.
missed that, yeah.
But thank you
But
for
my,
taking the time to come in on such a lovely night.
Right. Honestly, I try to make it every night, but my 7-year-old has other plans.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we-
Anything
Here
else?
tonight.
no, I think I can find everything else on the website.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
coming, thank you. Okay, town managers, any other public comment? No, anybody from the board? No public.
I yield the balance of my time to Mr. Stewart.
Hold on.
I'll answer any questions you like.
Okay,
Lori wants to be out by 8.
Ray, any updates on any of the building projects going on?
Didn't say that.
Hold on, Don.
On the public works facility, the foundation was poured a week or so ago, so the weather is allowing us to progress a little ahead of schedule, so we're doing well.
Okay,
we know what color the building's
And now we know what color the building's going to be.
okay. So did you catch that? So the foundation's been poured on the DPW building, and we've been able to move forward because of the weather has been cooperating, so thank you. Any other, nothing else at this point?
That's it.
Okay. All right, so our next meeting is February 6th, 2017. I'll hear a motion to adjourn. So moved. I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your January.